Don't let culture be the thing that dictates what you believe and what you don't believe, and don't let it be something that determines what you think is religiously acceptable or not. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to another Scattered Thoughts. And this one comes right after we had just finished the Maliki Fiqh session. By the way, Al Andalus Academy, the link is in the description. We've done in Maliki Fiqh, we've done Ashmawiyya, we've done Al Akhdari, we've done Al Ashmawiyya, and now we're doing Ibn Ashir. And we just finished the section on Aqidah for Ibn Ashir before going into the pillars of Islam and Usul. If you are interested in studying Maliki Fiqh with me, you can go into the link in the description and sign up there. But anyways, so this question comes from Muzaffar. And Muzaffar is asking, how do you establish coherence between culture and religion? Muzaffar, or Muzaffar as we say in Arabic, the one who's been given victory. It's a beautiful name. How do you establish coherence? I think the first thing you need to establish is that you do not need to have coherence between culture and religion. That's the first. You have to come from a position of strength, that this religion is revealed religion. And one of the roles of religion, one of the things that religion come to address is as a society has gone astray, so far astray, and there are practices that are oppressive, transgressive. They do not observe the limits of Allah's rule as well as the limits of the harmony of creation itself. You have messengers that were sent. The beloved sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the final messenger. And the beautiful thing about Islam, when you go through the Quran, a lot of the things that are presented as new issues in our modern world, our post iPhone, post Facebook, post Instagram world, ideas that are in vogue today, that are being pushed by certain figures, you actually find very explicit answers for them in the Quran. They're explicit for the one who is present and reading the Quran with an awareness of what's happening around them and an awareness of what the meaning of the language is in the Quran. إِنَّمَا اللَّبِيبُ بِالْإِشَارَةِ يَفْهَمُ. The intelligent one understands by indication. So you have to begin by just acknowledging that from a position of strength as a believer, as Imam al-Akhdari mentions in his text on Maliki Fiqh, he says, وَلَا يَفْعَلُ فِعْلًا حَتَّى يَعْلَمَ حُكْمَ اللَّهِ فِيهِ وَيَسْأَلَ الْعُلَمَاء. No, you are not permitted to do anything unless you know the ruling of Allah in it. That doesn't mean that you have to find explicitly that the Quran has a ruling about every little thing like that, but it's an acknowledgement that our usul, our principles, we have a means by which we can actually come up with answers to issues that can come up anew, because the essence of them is not that new. So that's the position you start from. And then after that, you look into, all right, there are certain customs and norms and practices and behaviors. As long as they don't transgress the red lines, the limits of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Islam is beautiful in the way that it is, that there's a skeleton, there's a structure to it, but then you can build that skeleton up in the way that that society functions. For example, the way that you would go and propose for marriage and the customs that are involved in the wedding and all of that. That's one example. If you go to Malaysia and go to Timbuktu, and I'm talking about practicing families here, I'm not talking about just the norms that are just, they ignore Islam altogether. A practicing family in Malaysia compared to a practicing family in Timbuktu, the way that they would approach marriage and the way that they would celebrate it and the way that the whole thing would be conducted, you can find similarities that really deal with the legal dimension as well as the moral and ethical dimension of it. But then, how it manifests itself beyond that, you will find dramatic differences in the way that it manifests itself. The beautiful thing about Islam is that it allows for that. It does not negate the cultural norms to such a degree that you lose yourself and expect kind of a monoculture. What you have in the modern world is a monoculture, as Dr. Umar Farooq Abdullah mentions, and Sheikh Abdul Hakim Murad also talks about this, the monoculture of the modern world. That no matter where you go, one example of this is those of you who remember that song Happy by Pharrell, and they had videos where they would have these people dance all across the world from different parts of the world. looking at those videos, I thought it was fascinating how they all really look the same. Yeah, they might have, in shape wise, color of the skin or um, background might have seemed different, but the whole thing, there was a monoculture aspect to it. There was a kind of a homogeneity to it that was not interesting anymore. Um, with Islam, it allows people to preserve local customs and norms, and then it adjusts certain things where the beloved ﷺ, for example, redefines the word of what it means to be a strong person. ليس الشديد بالصرعة إنما الشديد الذي يملك نفسه عند الغضب. The strong person is not one who can physically overwhelm and overcome other people in a wrestling match. The strong person is the one who can control themselves when they're extremely angry. That's real strength. So you have redefinitions of concepts in Islam that elevates, that take you to a higher plane, while at the same time maintains people's kind of cultural norms. So I guess the point I want to drive across, Mudaffar and anybody else that's interested in or has this question, don't let culture be the thing that dictates what you believe and what you don't believe, and don't let it be something that determines what you think is religiously acceptable or not. There's a growing young population in the Muslim community that unfortunately has not studied properly, for whatever reason doesn't have the right role models in front of them, and so they either get attracted by the left or they get taken in by the so-called red pill kind of right. It doesn't work that way. You have Islam, the religion is complete, we have principles, that's what you draw your strength from. And subhanallah, when you go through the Quran, a lot of the things that you might think are new today, they're not new at all. I'm telling you, like, there's some cultural moments, movements that are taking place now where you would think that people can easily get away with, well, the Quran is silent on this issue or that issue. Some of these things are actually explicitly addressed in the Quran, but you'd have to be someone who's reading for it, and you'll see. You don't even have to read for it necessarily. Just be aware of your environment, and as you recite in the Quran, they'll just jump at you. Like, oh, subhanAllah, I didn't realize that this could just perfectly fit right in this situation as well. Anyways, I don't want to get myself into too much trouble. That's it for now. Send me your questions. I'm gonna put up a thing on Instagram for more questions, and that's basically where I try. Or you can comment. By the way, if we're gonna grow this, I'm really hoping to grow this channel a little bit more. So I'd really appreciate you guys' help. Comment, like the video, comment in the description with your questions as well. I'll look for questions in the comments, and I'll look for questions on Instagram when I post on my stories, where you can follow me there as well, for you to send questions, and we'll go from there. Hope you guys are doing well. Scattered Thoughts is still continuing. We'll talk soon, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.